For 7 years our people suffered, no more. I have the honor to declare to you that no more Katyushas will fall on Kiryat Shmona, no more shells on Nahariya.
All people living in the free world should act against PLO terrorism.
Let us keep in mind that this war was a war not only of Israel, but a war of the Jewish people.
The line of defense of Israel is the line of defense of the Jewish people.
On June 5th, 15 years to the day after the 1967 Six-Day War, Israel was again engaged in a military conflict. Called Operation Peace for Galilee, the objective was to rid the Israelis in the northern Galilee settlements of the terrorist PLO entrenched in Lebanon. For years, not only Israelis, but Jews everywhere had been the target of murderous attacks by the PLO. Since the beginning of the 1970s, 1,002 men, women, and children have been murdered, 4,520 wounded, including school children, in the 1974 Ma'alot attack on the border town. Tens of people killed in the infamous Coast Road massacre. Katyusha attacks on Kiryat Shmona, Nahariya, and the Galilee Panhandle. Worshippers at Paris's Rue de Copernic synagogue. The 1981 attack against religious school children in Antwerp. Israeli athletes gunned down in Munich. Treverchin.
In Britain, of course, we are especially moved because this war, in a way, started on our streets in London when Ambassador Shlomo was shot down in a murder attempt.
After the Argov attack, once again the PLO began heavy shelling of more than 20 civilian settlements in Galilee. 1 man was killed, many injured. Extensive damage was done to factories, homes, hotels, and schools. Documents were captured from the PLO, revealing that orders were given to utterly destroy these settlements, which include the populated centers of Nahariya, Metula, and Kiryat Shmona. But the settlers showed their usual resolve. Children were moved into the bomb shelters once again. Israel responded in force. Tens of thousands of men and weapons were rushed into Lebanon in what experts saw as one of the most well-organized campaigns of Israel's military history. The goal was to move the Israeli settlements out of range of PLO attacks. Military observers said the battle went much better than planned. Soon, Israel had surrounded the PLO leadership in West Beirut. Defense Minister Ariel Sharon.
Never in the future anybody will be able to deploy in this area artillery or rockets will be in the range of our settlements along the northern border.
Jews around the world were aroused by Israel's action against what experts say was the backbone of international terrorism. World Jewish leadership scheduled to attend Jewish agency meetings arrived early, and some went north and saw how the PLO had dug into southern Lebanon in military strongholds like the Beaufort Castle, long a vantage point for terrorist shelling of the Galilee. Army spokesman Major Mezzini.
We're standing on top of the Beaufort Castle. From here, the PLO was able to shell and to snipe and to fire at Metula and at other Israeli settlements that are less visible with the naked eye. The soldiers had to come up and scale very difficult terrain and then physically fight practically hand-to-hand battles in order to finally capture the fort. The losses were considerable. We had 3 dead here and 18 injured. But as we can see from here, the battle was extremely crucial because the point is very vital and very strategic.
What did Michel Topiol think of Israel's action against the PLO? On this issue, everybody is with us. Namely, that here was to be found one of the centers of terror. Everybody agrees that many terrorists came from this region, spreading terror throughout the world against Jews and non-Jews alike.
entre le juif, contre le juif et contre le non-juif.
Australia's Isidore Magid had a different reaction.
Mainly impressed with was the traffic of the returnees of the Lebanese who were coming home with their cars and trucks loaded with their personal possessions, coming back to their homes and houses. We found people already working in the fields and minding their own cattle as well as their own business. We found people in Nabatea and other places quite friendly and willing to talk. They're also happy and grateful that they are free now from the pressure of the situation that was created by the presence of the PLO.
For Alberto Nasser of Latin America, familiar with Lebanon, the feeling was different.
Eu nasci por lá, depois de 38 anos. Visitei.
I was born in that area, and I visited Lebanon after an absence of 38 years. I can tell you this visit was very emotional and very sad for me. We saw that many young soldiers were lost there. And now, many of them are lying wounded in hospital. Last night, I visited Hadassah Hospital and met with some of these boys. They were 18 to 20 years old. Youngsters willing to give their lives. For South Africa's Mendel Kaplan,
it came as a shock and as a surprise to the group to notice the extent of the military occupation of southern Lebanon by the PLO. Israel was not fighting against a terrorist force, they were fighting against an army of occupation.
Herschel Blumberg, national chairman of the UJA, thought that
the long list of attacks by the PLO upon the Israelis and Jews throughout the world teaches all of us that Jews are not safe so long as the PLO exists, and that therefore the PLO must be removed.
On the diplomatic front, Major Saeed Haddad, leader of the Christian militia in southern Lebanon, met with villagers in Nabatea, presenting them with a strong case for the need for a central Lebanese government to prevent the PLO's return. The border kibbutz of Maayan Baruch has long been a target of PLO terrorist attacks. Kibbutz member Harry Salber.
We're now at the war memorial of Maayan Baruch. This is in memory of our sons who fell, because we were a border settlement from the beginning. After 67, we had a period of quiet for about 6 months, and then the PLO started, and we've been having it all the time. If it wasn't the Katyushot, it was the 130 millimeter attacks on Maayan Baruch. We hope that we'll be able to live more in peace, and not only for 6 months, for many years to come. And if all of us who had this behind our minds all the time, we hope that our children would be spared the problems that we had to face all the years.
At the seaside resort town of Nahariya, another frequent terrorist target, Mayor Ephraim Sharir explained through an interpreter how the town survived the latest round of shelling.
You have come here in days that will be registered in history as of extreme significance.
הם יהיו בעלות משמעות לנו ולעולם כולו.
These days will be of significance both for us and for the whole world.
In one of Nahariya's bomb shelters, a resident describes life during a rocket attack.
First, in this shelter slept for 3 days 100 people. Now when we came from outside, we feel like it's fresh over here, because everything is open, the door is open, but when there is walls, nothing is open. I mean, everything must be closed. 100 parents with kids. No more. If not, in this area, if not more. And they came with the food, with blankets, with kids, with toys, with everything.
For Moshav Dovev, located directly on the northern border, economic conditions have deteriorated due to PLO activity.
A great number of the people are mobilized, both in Lebanon with the army and in the area itself here, guarding the area itself. So to a large extent, this will affect the economic activity for the whole year.
What was Latin America's Leon Cohen's impression of what he saw? I was astonished at the lack of knowledge about the motives of this war. It's a dramatic war, just like the one in 1967, or the Yom Kippur War. Just like those two, this one again is a war of defense. Defense for liberty, quiet, and peace along the northern border.
De defensa para la libertad y la tranquilidad y la paz en nuestra frontera del norte.
Germany's Armand Buchenspanner held a similar view.
Auf einen Trip sozusagen in Galil und danach in Lebanon.
From the Beaufort, we saw all of the Galilee spread out before us. We saw the fortified PLO installations there, the ones that shelled Israeli settlements. I simply cannot describe the Israeli soldiers we saw.
Was wir da unterwegs gesehen haben, die israelischen Soldaten, das kann man einfach...
We were able to draw for ourselves a very clear picture of how much all of this cost the state of Israel.
Was das alles den Staat Israel...
While the cost to the state of Israel was high in money, it was even higher in lives. Nearly 300 Israeli soldiers killed, more than 1,000 wounded. Was this action justified? Keren HaYesod World Chairman Abraham Avihai.
We didn't go into Lebanon because we're imperialists. We went into Lebanon because there was a military base which one day, sooner or later, would have risen up against Israel and would have killed hundreds and maybe thousands, if not more, of Jews. We went into Lebanon because we've had 1,000 casualties inside and outside of Israel and 4,000 wounded inside and outside of Israel. What was done in Lebanon was done well. It was done brilliantly.
Brilliant, yes, but also expensive, to the sum of $1.3 billion. Israel's finance minister Yoram Aridor.
Of course, we do not ask for your help to pay for the war. We shall pay for the war by ourselves. But when we pay for the war, we will not have enough resources for other targets that you support regularly. And we need this money in order to continue to live normally, even under these circumstances. And so we decided, together with the Jewish Agency, to ask the Jewish people to help us in the social targets. By a special peace campaign, emergency peace campaign. We do not declare such a campaign every year, nor every 2 years, nor every 5 years. It is a campaign of the state of Israel together with the Jewish people. We can depend in such times on the Jewish people.
This economic burden is not only Israel's. Mendel Kaplan thought the obligation of world Jewry was
to stand behind Israel, to stand behind the Israeli people, to show their solidarity, not only emotionally, but in terms of monetary assistance, in terms of an understanding of the traumatic economic conditions that will follow in the wake of this campaign, and to assist in replying to the call of the Ministry of Finance to the extent that we are able.
Trevor Chin felt that British juries should
show our community's solidarity with the government of people of Israel in these difficult times. We will do our small part to see that Israel wins through in its position in which it represents the forefront of the Jewish people.
Mr. Chin promised that he would return within a week with a group of British jury to show them the difficulties Israel faced, and he did. They saw some of the captured PLO munitions, enough to supply 5 infantry divisions.
We have here about less than 5% of the booty that we take from the Syrians and the PLO in South Lebanon.
Experts estimate it would require 1,000 men and 150 heavy trucks working every day for at least 2 months to move all the captured weapons out of Lebanon.
It's a field gun, 2 trucks are there, and then it says Tokçer that comes from Russia.
The people on this mission are amazed at what they're seeing here and hearing about the Palestinian PLO armaments. I know that when they go back to England, to their communities, they're going to be convinced of the need to, first of all, to persuade everybody of the truth, not to believe the lies in the media. And then, when our community understands the truth and believes it because we've seen it, I know they will react responsibly in solidarity with Israel.
Defense Minister Ariel Sharon explained Israel's plans.
And we believe now that if we'll make the effort, we'll have the patience, we'll have the internal strength and unity, and our people and our friends' support from outside, we will be ready, we will be able to arrive to peace.
Israel's Prime Minister Menachem Begin.
And we state here and now that the Jewish state will defend every Jew, wherever he dwells, if he should be attacked by a bloodthirsty enemy.
You can't have a situation where one Jew fights and another Jew sits with his hands in his lap and watches television.
It's our family, it's our brothers, and when a family is in problem, we always come in and do our part. In Israel, the campaign is going to cost about $1.5 billion. There is no possible way that they will be taxed and we won't. We must pay the taxes if we are one.